Okay. New chapter of One Piece is out. One Piece chapter 1103, and it had a completely different vibe than last chapter. Last chapter just made me sad, I'm not gonna lie. But this chapter, it's ebbs and flows. Information, some sadness, but liberation. Happiness, some revenge, but not yet. 3 takeaways from this chapter. Kizaru, I'm looking at you. Kuma, what are you? Dragon, I'm encouraged because things are looking up? Question mark, question mark, question mark? Some of the things in this chapter strengthened how I already felt. We saw Kuma showing up. That was pretty much, I think, set in stone. He was on his way there. Kizaru, I'm not gonna say, hey, I've been telling y'all, I've been saying, he was selling. We'll break it down. But also, Saturn, you are a scumbag, and I love it because you make the story better. Luffy, why isn't your heart not working anymore? Just hit that beat. You can't, the beat not working, what's going on? Anyway, let's get to the chapter. So every single time we got a cover art, cover page, color spread, it's a simple comparison. Who looks better, Nami or Robin? In this one, you can't really see Robin, so I gotta give it to Nami. They did throw a wrinkle in with Yamato. Close second, but Nami takes this one. Not to the chapter. I absolutely love the fact that Bonney went to Vegapunk because now she knows everything. Last chapter, I said, hey, where the chapter ended off is not where we are. We have to see Bonney after everything happened, after realizing what Kuma went through. We have to see what her reaction is. And so Oda went back in time and gave us a walkthrough in regards to everything that transpired up until where we are now, where Bonnie's being choked out by Saturn. So I loved it. Bonney going back to Vegapunk and just saying, yo, I'm sorry. It just makes me feel good because Vegapunk, based on the last chapter, he really, not even just the last chapter, throughout, he's cared about Kuma. Of course, there's some selfishness in there with Vegapunk because he's a scientist at the end of the day. He's just a scientist, but he cares. He actually cares. And Bonney, of course, she experienced all of Kuma's memories, so now she knows. She walked out, right? Normal size, using her devil fruit, trying to appear older. When she runs into Vegapunk's arms, she turns back into a child. I think that was symbolic. It was meaningful, and it made sense. I really, really love that moment. Shout out to Vegapunk because I had my questions from the beginning of Egghead. I don't know why I said it like that. From the beginning of Egghead, based on the satellites. Why is this wrath? Why is this greed? Why is this? But we all have those parts to us, of course, in different portions, but we all have them. York, of course, exists as well, but these parts of us, they exist, but they don't have to take control. Vegapunk, even with these parts existing, is still a good person. He has good intentions, even though sometimes they can be viewed as naive because he's not looking at the other side. It's just about what I want to accomplish. How he reacted to Kuma, what he was trying to do, even in the face of Saturn saying time and time and time and time again, no, kill him, no, I don't care, no, you're just a scientist. I'm sure he took steps, and Kuma being here right now, I would not be surprised if this was Vegapunk doing something for Kuma to retain some instinct. But we'll talk about that. Something I want to point out as well, Bonnie's sapphire necklace. Do we think this could be what Kuma is being drawn to? There was a translation that came out early that somewhat called it an instinct chip, or called something an instinct chip. And of course, I was looking at the necklace saying, hey, is that what Kuma is after? But the other translation cleared it up. And basically, Kuma is acting off of instinct. And that's what Dragon is asking. And that's what Dragon was asking Ivankov. Ivankov said, well, if the instinct kicked in, it'd probably be Marijoa to enact some revenge. But we know Kuma is different because Kuma, he gave up being a revolutionary for his daughter. Dragon, man, we gotta talk about Dragon. And hey, it's closed. The wagon is closed. You can't jump on no more. The wagon is closed. Before we get there, they talk about Luffy, Straw Hat, saying, hey, it's hard to believe what he's done in 2 years. And not gonna lie, I feel just like them. 2 years in regards to the story, not even in real time, because 2 years ago we were in Wano, right? And even the growth that Luffy had in Wano was insane. But 2 years in regards to the story, basically from Sabaody to where we are now, it is exorbitant. Luffy's 20 years old and he's boxing against 50-year-olds, grown men, grizzled vets, and coming out on top. So everything he's been able to accomplish, like if we actually document Luffy's accomplishments, you would be like, yo, this dude is an anomaly. He should not exist. And Vegapunk and Bonney is acknowledging that. So I really do like that acknowledgement. But then Vegapunk goes to catch Bonney up to speed because she's been in that bubble. We're not sure how much time has passed for her to experience all these things. But after she steps out, hey, you caught up. Okay, a lot of things are going on. The Straw Hats are helping me now. Okay, so things are a bit crazy right now. Then we jump forward. Bonney, of course, attacks Saturn, and now she's in his clutches. Saturn. Let's turn our ire to him because that man is a villain and I love me a good villain. The only thing is that he's somewhat mustache twirling, but it's a lot of conversation, a lot of talk. It's a lot of, okay, let me tell you what I've done. It's prototypical, but the things that he's done, I'd brag about them too. If I was a villain, I'm saying, I'm not saying I'd brag about them, but if I was a villain like him, I'm like, I want to talk a little smack. Like, nah, you know what? Yeah, I did that to your mother. Y'all know the context I'm talking about. Okay, let's break it down. Saturn is very strategic strategic as well. It seems like everything has a purpose. Him telling Bonney Kuma is dead wasn't only to just tell her Kuma is dead, it's to weaken her as well because he knows her devil fruit power. Bonnie's devil fruit is one of the more complex powers we've ever seen in One Piece. It's almost like Luffy's Red Hawk, right? It's like it's worse than Luffy's Red Hawk, or better, I should say, in regards to complexity. Because Red Hawk was like, well, what is it? We were making up excuses as far as like what it could be. I made an entire video about Red Hawk, rubber, and just the pressure of rubber and the elasticity and so much to justify it. It's just like, hey, super magic power, ace, love. Sometimes it's just that, right? But Saturn, he has the other stuck in place. I'm not sure what it could be. It's not Conqueror's Haki. It's not. It is a technique, but they are stuck. Frankie, Vegapunk, Sanji cannot move. Even Atlas. So Luffy at this point, he's saying he needs food. Last time when Luffy was in Gear 5, he shriveled up, pound that beat, hit that beat, heartbeat, hit that beat, boom, boom, and he got right back. What's going on now? Why can't he hit that beat? Do we just chalk it up to plot or just things happening? I don't know. Maybe Kizaru wore him out more than we thought. I don't know. Either way, no agenda involved. No agenda involved. We then see Kizaru, but this is after they said Bonney is in their clutches, as Kizaru can see. Sentomaru is in custody. Kizaru's like, man, Sentomaru-kun, right? Bonney. He says Sentomaru-kun. There's some relationship there and he still views it that way. He could have destroyed Sentomaru. Destroyed him. Stick a pin. Stick a pin. We'll come back to that. Dragon. Like I said, you can't hop on anymore. We're gone. It's too late. The wagon is on. It's off to the races. Dragon is asking about Kuma and asking if there's any trace of Kuma still in there. Where would he go? Do we think he's just asking just to ask? Do you think he just wants to know? Or is he on the way to Egghead? Because we don't know what point in time this is happening. You know how One Piece is. Sometimes we get a perspective. We don't know when it's happening. Because to us, like, man, this is happening right now. Dragon, when the heck are you going to get there? It could have been happening right when Kuma left. Because think about this. More than likely it happened when Kuma left. Because Kuma went to Mary Joa, fought against Akainu, then made his way back to Egghead. Imagine, right? If Dragon waited this long to have this conversation with Ivankov. This is happening as soon as Kuma left, which means in real time, Dragon should be on his way, if not at Egghead at this point. A lot of people have been slandering Dragon, saying you're not doing anything, all you do is look east, do you even know where west is, things like that. You know, it was unnecessary slander. Dragon looks like he's about to make a move. Now what are we gonna do? Now what are we gonna say? Is it still slander, or is it just whatever? That's not. I want to see what people say. I want to see what people say. Bonney cranks it up again though. Distorted future, Nika-ish. And Shadow's like, Nika? But Bonnie's power is unique. One of the more unique ones, which gives me hope for devil fruits, which I mean, I wish more devil fruits had some of these conditions, but Bonney has a prototypical devil fruit though. It's not. It's just a bit different. I'm gonna try to break it down as best as I can, but it's a complicated one, guys. So Bonney goes to attack Saturn and she feels weak again because one thing that's happening is Saturn is not only somehow canceling out her powers, right? Because she can't turn him into a child or anything. She's feeling weak, but he's saying, yo, Bonney, you know that name. Like, you're really his daughter, huh? Like, he's talking a lot of smack, mustache curling, but he's saying she hasn't drawn the connection because Luffy and his form in regards to Nika, she hasn't made the connection yet because she's so weak, and he's calling her pathetic, which basically if Bonney had made that connection, the Nika-ish powers would be a lot more powerful. Let me give the full definition or explanation of how Bonnie's fruit works. First off, it's not a regular devil fruit, or that's not how it was administered to her. It is special. Before that though, we have to address the monkey in the room. So Luffy, last time he was hungry, need food. We saw Kizaru, he cares about Sentomaru and Vegapunk, and of course Bonney. After I saw that lanky dude dancing, I was like, you gotta look out for him, WG, world government. You gotta watch him because he's a wild one. He thought he was just a cog, but he's a wild one. All of a sudden, Luffy has food. Here are the candidates for feeding Luffy. You have Caribou, you have Robin, you have Kizaru. Caribou. Last time we saw Caribou was chapter 1065, where Zoro is telling him, yo, you saved our captain. Thank you. Get off our ship now. He's like, yo, what? Which his last words were, you'll pay for this. That's what Caribou said. So Caribou's last word being, you'll pay for this, and then giving Luffy food, is that them paying for this? I don't understand. Caribou isn't, again, my first inclination at all. Caribou wasn't even on my radar, considering what he said the last time. For a lot of people, I'm not going to say it's because of agenda and because of their faction. A lot of people are saying Caribou's number one. After Caribou, people say Nico Robin because she can use her arms and she can get food from the food machine and give it to him. And the third is Kizaru. Now, Kizaru, I think, is far and away the best option considering what was shown in the chapter. Oda cut away to Kizaru twice. One, he's laying down saying Sentomaru-kun. The second one is after Luffy's eating the food. They're like, yo, who did this? And it's just ellipses, and now he's sitting up. That's not strange. I've been saying for the longest that Kizaru was selling the entirety of Egghead. Ever since he got there, selling. missing, trolling, running away. Something as well I always think about is Kuma protecting the Sunny for 2 years. No admiral was sent, or was Kizaru sent? Oh, Kuma was too. Did that happen? I don't know. The story is trying to say it's Kizaru. Of course, it could be a wrinkle or it could be some way to throw us off, but to me, at least, it feels like Kizaru. I mean, it should be based on that relationship, and it somewhat contrasts how he feels, right? Where it's like, I'm just a Marine. I'm an admiral, but I'm just a Marine. I follow my duties. I do my job. I have things that I believe in, which I'm going to go face off against Sentomaru as a man. But at the end of the day, I do my job. Every admiral at some point has veered off and done their own thing. We talk about Akainu. When Akainu killed those Marines, a lot of people look at it as he just killed them in cold blood. Akainu's a killer. That exact moment where Akainu killed those 2 people, or the people that were trying to run away after they were scared at the war, he said, at least take an honorable death so your family can actually benefit from this. Meaning, if you get away, you desert, then you're just dishonorable, and we're going to be chasing after you, and your family is going to get caught in the crossfire. If I kill you, if you die here, it's an honorable death, and you get the benefits of that. Your family gets the benefits of that, and your legacy lives on. It's a win-win-win. Now, from our perspective, it's like, yo, you're just killing people. For him, he's like, I'm doing you a favor. I'm actually helping you out. I'm not going to say what side of the coin I'm on, but I'm just saying, for Fujitora, he's fighting Green Bull and Mary Jo while an attack is going on. For Aokiji, he lets Saul go. For Green Bull, I don't know. For Green Bull, we don't know enough yet. He seems to just be a scumbag. But for Green Bull, he was just spitting the truth about what the world is. Whether or not we agree with it, that's something besides the point. But he was still spitting. That's how the world is. Even though he agreed with it, which is nasty work. But, you know, still gotta wait and see. However, these things happen, and Kizaru now, for the most part, he's been the guy that's done the job and done it thoroughly, or tried to. This is the first time that I'm questioning him, but this is the first time we're really getting deeper into him and his backstory and his relationships. I think Kizaru did it. Personally, it would be an interesting twist, and also it makes me think about the future. Would the Marines or would the admirals be fighting with the world government, or will they turn against them and fight against them as well? Because then that we have to add more credence to the Gorosei and even the God Knights, because those guys are going to be the force that's standing with them. Akainu already doesn't like the Celestial Dragons, so it's lending itself to so many more thoughts. But as of right now, I do think Kizaru is the one that gave Luffy the food. That's how I feel. Sorry. If you disagree, cool. I think it's clear, in my opinion. It could be a twist. Oda's good at that, but just saying. Now, Saturn is, again, mustache twirling, explaining to Bonney, hey, you know, the power that you got, you know, it's because of me, right? Yeah, man, it's because of me. We did experiments to determine whether or not we could extract infusions, and that could grant a baby an ability. So they extracted infusions from a devil fruit, and they fed it to the baby. I'm not sure if it's an IV or it was a drip fed, but they fed it to the baby, and it was a success. He also then reiterates that the fruit is useless. So basically, an extract of the fruit was deemed successful in granting powers. However, that then rendered the fruit useless. So it's almost as if you're biting into the fruit regardless. So it's like Ace and, what's his first mate? Deuce. I don't know how I forgot that. Ace and Deuce, they both bit into the Marimaro no Mi, but Ace got the power, Deuce did not. As long as the power is extracted, then the rest of the fruit is useless regardless. You can't take the power that way and grant it to multiple people. So that's where the green blood, I'm sure experiments were being conducted, and the green blood could be result of some of those experiments, but essentially that's what I took away from that specific section, right? Give me your thoughts on that if you disagree. Now, Bonnie's powers, it's almost like a Nen ability, how Saturn was explaining it, and with a condition, restriction. It's insane. So Bonnie's fruit, right, can transform you into a state of any future you perceive to be possible. First off, that's insane. So the future has to be possible, meaning it's something that you have to believe in. So again, imagination lends itself to more power. Another factor, another part of this is, and this is the weakness, possibilities become more limited as your future becomes more certain. Say Bonney asks for a Whitebeard-ish future. She somehow grants or is granted Whitebeard's powers or something. I'm just spitballing here. I wonder if it's weaker while Whitebeard is alive. That moment while Whitebeard is dead, does that future then become more powerful? You see how it's twisted? Whitebeard is alive, so the power of having a Whitebeard-ish power is limited because he has his devil fruit. He's a pirate, but he's older, so it's fairly decent. He dies. That moment before Blackbeard acquires the power, then at that point, am I more powerful using or mimicking Whitebeard's powers? Also something that I took away from this chapter. No matter what portion you extract in regards to a devil fruit, you gain the power. Could it be the same way with a person, meaning for Whitebeard, Blackbeard eating his heart right after he died or in the midst of death? Is there a time period where, okay, if I eat his heart or eat a part of his body, body, drink his blood? Do I then gain the power? Because they just extracted it and Bonney got the power. Is it the same for a devil fruit user? These things are what I'm thinking about. Back to Bonney. So he's saying, as you uncovered the truth, your powers become weaker because the future is becoming more certain. With Kuma dying, Nika, that was supposed to protect you, save you, you start to lose your belief, your hope, your will. It's almost religious, where if you're praying to God this entire time, and the whole point was for God to save your family, and let's say Vinland Saga happens and your family gets raided and killed one night and you manage to survive, you're gonna be looking at Big G a bit differently, right? And that's what Bonney's doing, but it's not intentional. It just happens because now Kuma's dead. So Nika that we prayed to, that was supposed to save us, how can we believe in it or him? But Bonney hasn't drawn the connection yet that Luffy's actually that. Once she draws that connection, her Nika-ish powers are gonna go through the roof, because the future is exactly as she predicted, as she saw it. So in that way, that future is going to aid her. It's very, I think, unnecessarily complex. Not gonna lie, it doesn't have to be this complicated. I like it because it reminds me of my faves in Hunter x Hunter and JJK. So no complaints, no complaints. I don't want you guys to take that as a complaint. I actually do like it. Saturn isn't done because he's not the type of guy to just one round, right? Okay, that sounds kind of crazy out of context, but I'm not wrong. Okay, so Saturn, he's not done degrading, diminishing, crapping on Bonney. He says, you know what? You know, your mother. Yo, anytime anybody goes there, they want smoke. Oh, he got it. But he says, you know what? Your mother, man. She was brought to the Holy Land to be number 8, the 8th wife. It's ironic, really. She ended up being a part of my drug experiments. Yeah, your mom. The one you be hanging with. But you know, like the other failures, she developed Sapphire Scale. You know, these things happen. The results were so poor, but I mean, to think it got passed on to her child as well. Huh. Gloating, basically telling Bonney, you know, I'm the reason why your dad is dead and your mom, and now I'm gonna kill you. Would you look at that? It is top tier Diabolical, where he sat on that. Saturn knew, but he was like, I'm gonna tell you about your power, I'm gonna tell you about you, I'm gonna tell you about your dad, I'm gonna tell you about your mom. I'm going to destroy you mentally, physically, in the past and in the future, Bonney. I don't care what your power is, and it doesn't work on me. The guy is dastardly. Vegapunk is pissed because he's like, bro, you're the reason for all of this. I don't know why Vegapunk is even doing that. It's like when he said, yo, but if Kuma dies, he won't ever be able to meet Bonney again. We didn't see his response, but I'm sure Saturn's response was like, who gives a fuck? That was the point. Vegapunk is somehow trying to convince Saturn to care. And Saturn is like, I'm incapable of curing. They're insects. And look at it from the perspective. How often do you step on an ant and say, oh my God, poor ant? Quite frankly, probably step on more on purpose. I'm just saying. Now, in the meantime, like clockwork, Kuma arrives at the southwest coast. And Saturn, mustache twirling, what a fiasco. How could Kuma possibly be here? I don't know, man. Even talking about his daughter, crapping on him, crapping on Ginny. Kuma arriving, though, feels like almost like Avengers. You know, when you're on your left. Because it's so dire, nobody can move, everyone is stuck. Kizaru doesn't want to compromise his position. It's almost like Garp, right? I was mentioning the Admirals earlier and all of them taking liberties to just somewhat do things that they feel like is right, but it's morally wrong against the world government. With Garp just getting hit by Luffy on purpose. Come on, knowing how strong Garp is now, he could have bit Luffy and Luffy would have been knocked out. He was a monster in comparison to Luffy back then. I don't want to compromise my position, but I do want to help. Here's a hand. Let's see where it goes. Because Kizaru, when we saw him when he was younger, he had a light and he was in the dark. He seemed like a kid that possibly believed in fairy tales or gods, folklore. We know he knows about Nika. We're assuming someone told him. But what if he just knew about it? Something he believed in the past. He was dancing with them, guys. Either way, Kuma shows up. They're like, yo, empty every gun. Blow him up. He's getting blown up. He's getting all of that. And in the midst of it, Bonney she's pouring her heart out because she's saying, yo, maybe I would have been better off dead because my dad wouldn't have been going through all of this. Even when Saturn's like, yo, blow her head off, Kuma just uses, using your modifications to blow up the soldiers trying to hurt his daughter, then throws it to the floor. Bam. And Bonnie's kind of giving up. She's like, yo, you fought so hard for me to live, Dad, and I'm so sorry. Boom. Kuma shows up. Saturn stabs him in the back. Again, Kuma's a cyborg at this point, right? He's all metal. He doesn't feel it. Stops it. Kuma then grabs his claw, whatever the heck it is. And it looks like he's about to go in for Paw impact. Papa impact. That wasn't mine, by the way. That was one of my guys in my live stream earlier. If you want to check it out, in the link below. Bartholomew Kuma steps in, saves his daughter, grabs Saturn, is about to light him up with a paw impact. That's what we're calling it. Let's get the nonsense out of the way, because there's a bunch of nonsense every chapter. Let's get the nonsense out of the way, then we can get to serious stuff. Nonsense. Why is Kuma moving and Sanji can't? Well, who knows how Saturn's power works? It has to be directed. If you're getting caught off guard, you don't have time to place it on an opponent. That could be a thing. But people are using this moment to somehow slander Sanji. Also, in that final panel, Bonney is back to being a little girl. It's just, man, she's a little girl. Like, she's really just a kid in this moment. And so her dad showing up to bully the bully. Instinct, by the way. Kuma should be dead, long dead. Instinct. I've shown this thumbnail before where Saturn is exploding. Ursus Ind. I need it. I need him to feel it. Now, this isn't going to put him down. Story-wise, it's not it yet. Story-wise, though, what has to happen